That's an option.
I don't think that's an option.
However, when I realized that he could do that, I just pulled myself over and he laughed and I was like, did you, he said, how fast were you going? I was like, I don't know. Can you tell from behind? And he said, yes. I didn't know that.
Did he give you a ticket?
Of course not. I said, I know Americano.
Okay.
He should have given me a ticket then, huh?
Also careful how you use that.
He says such great things about you, I'm not gonna give you a ticket.
I like that. We got a lot of politics stuff going on. We're doing a lot of things.
All right, it is 2:02 and we are here for a meeting with Bonner Soil and Water Conservation District. And with that, we'll turn it over for a presentation.
All right, good morning.
Do you want to make everybody do their names since they all came in support or just?
That would be great. They can have a chance to talk.
While she gets ready, go ahead, sir.
Rick Watt. I'm Dale Vansel, I'm chairman of the board.
There you go. And behind you?
Chris Elliott.
Jim Stevens.
I'm Joe Conlon. I'm the vice chair. I get to every now and then run the show. Dale lets me.
I'm Sarah Garcia. I'm the executive director, and Julie is our district administrator. So, sorry, I'm having a minute with our slides. It doesn't want to show.
Want me to cuss out of her?
No, I don't. I would like you to not do that.
Speak nicely to the technology.
Yeah.
It's listening.
It's not the turn. It's me.
I don't know, he threatened the printer and it literally turned itself off.
Well, we thought.
Sorry, it's almost up. Our system's just having a minute.
Yeah, but it didn't repair itself. That was the
Well, no.
frustrating part.
It hid.
That picture from back when it was Cootney County?
It's
Were
not
part of
you?
Cootney County?
Is it like your grandfather?
Could be.
I mean, he's
When did
got
we
the
split, Jeff?
mustache.
What's that?
When did we split off Kootenai County, do you know?
No. In that general.
No, I'm not saying you would, I just.
If you go to the Kootenai
If you look on
County
the wall-
first floor conference room, you
If
can
you
look
look
at it on the
Kootenai
wall.
County,
Yeah, that's a
Kootenai
great
County admin building
historic,
wall, you can see it
yeah.
all the time.
I love that.
I was just wondering if anybody remembered, if we're all too
I
old, and
can't
memories can't
remember.
handle that.
I can't remember what
Boundary
those.
was Cootney County, all of it was Cootney County.
Yeah, those posters they have down there are really nice historical snapshot.
Did you stop in Road and Bridge on your way in?
I did stop and say hello.
Did he show you his name plaque that he got?
What?
Name placard? Well,
He
you'll
showed
have,
you the name placard?
yes, I saw the name placard. I said it better not come up and magically be in front of the board
And when
meeting.
you look at that, just know that Claire had a hand in making it, and that will really shock you.
That will shock you when you see what it says, so.
Not cooperating. There you go.
Do we have a printed copy of the actual budget request?
It is.
What is, what?
I don't have one.
They usually just tell you what they're
I
going
know
to.
that right
You
now
want
we're
to
getting
press
18
escape?
you have some-
Is that what you're struggling with, is to see both?
It just won't actually let me share. You're gonna get to see the slides at the same time I do. For some reason, it doesn't want
Find out the
to
same
go
thing.
into the view screen where you're seeing just one slide at a time.
So did you put her on as panelist?
They have generation.
Yeah.
So can you go back to your,
Did you get a pop-up to accept being a panelist?
I did.
That's why I'm sitting here right now.
Accepted it,
so
but
that
now it doesn't
whoever-
wanna-
so can you go onto the Zoom one?
Absolutely be interested. I mean, they have to agree, but
Share.
I
I'm pretty sure it's
This you want to
shown.
share? This one here?
I understand.
And then you say share that.
There.
And so
Shoulders,
you,
knees, or back.
so you have a
That's the life
pop-up.
of a log.
See,
I got the.
This is on the.
well, I think you're blocking us with this camera thing
Not the
there.
life of a log, it's the life of a bar fighter. That's your problem.
So can you, there you go.
I'm not kidding.
But
You
I just
are kidding.
control altered your thing, and so then you just say, make this bigger.
I think that goes along with logging.
You're good.
Until one time, and then after that time you
So
start.
you don't have a mouse.
Correct.
And then you want a slideshow, and then start from beginning.
No, I want to get.
Do you need a mouse?
We've got
I
really
should
sick-
Sorry about that.
You're good.
Yeah, it does.
It's not showing on your side.
We can see it. Can you make it, it's not, did it make it bigger?
I'm on different slides and it's not changing over there. We're gonna go with this option, if that works for all of you
All right,
guys.
you guys are gonna have to put your glasses on.
It's not sharing to the screen. Well, we have a really beautiful PowerPoint that does not want to share with you guys today for some reason.
So did you click start slideshow though?
I did. And it doesn't want to do that.
Try view.
Because the share worked because.
Yeah, it's up there.
What is up there is not up there.
Looks like he's trying to push it through.
Why is that?
Oh, that's the laptop camera.
It is.
Don't worry, your picture will be forever ingrained in this archived video now like that.
That was
Something
helpful.
like freeze framed.
Okay, that's okay. Whoops, sorry. We'll do it on the fly. So you guys will get to see the screen show from here. So our board members are present today. They've introduced themselves to you as well. Julie is new with us. She's going to be celebrating her first year in July, so we're excited to have her. I will be with the district for 8 years as of August. We are,
Do you want to just leave it up there at that size then?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
if it'll.
Yeah.
Doing great today. It'll come back up for you guys. Sorry, we don't normally have this many technical issues.
It's okay.
Only when everyone's watching.
That's
right.
valid.
Yeah, just roll with the punches. You're doing fine.
Grab copies.
Just fake you out for a second, like popping up there.
Yep, pretty much. That's all right. There it goes. So, I'm not sure, I know Asia, you've had some interaction with us and have a little more idea of what our districts are, but for the rest of you, I'm not sure how familiar you are. In our packets there, the blue one on the top, gives kind of a history of who the districts are, what we came out of. Really, the whole focus of it is for it to be a local-led conservation effort, and it's a voluntary program. It's non-regulatory, but there's some big benefits of us being identified as a local government entity. A big part of that is the funding that we can bring to the county through grants, writings, and projects that we do. So we engage on average with about 2,000 students through events. Last Thursday, we held the Idaho State Forestry Contest. You'll see a picture of that coming up. We had 220 students who actively participated in the contest, and about another 200 volunteers that were there for the day. It's not only an in-depth kind of look at what the forestry in our world, in our county is, but it introduces them to all the additional partners that work within that natural resource area, and it provides scholarships. A big one that you guys are going to hear about is the watercraft inspection stations, so the AAS stations. We have one at Albany Falls, Samuels, and Clark Fork. That is where we bring in about 23 to 26 seasonal employees, and they operate this last year was our first year. We stayed open until October. For the state of Idaho, our 3 stations represent 28% of all of the inspections done in the state. We also process about $70,000 in sticker sales, which those are funds that go through Park and Rec to help fund that program as well.
Can I clarify?
Absolutely.
The watercraft inspections in the state or in the county?
We do 3 in our county, and we represent that much of the state inspections.
Wow, that's okay. I just want, that's an
Yeah,
impressive
no,
number, so I wanted to
we'll look a
clarify.
little more.
Thank
So we are very much community program based. So this next slide that'll pop up is from this year's, about 2 behind us, sorry. When it catches up with my slide, we have a picture of this year's 2025 forestry contest group that came through. The student who won was, once again, they received $2,500. $1,500 of that is in scholarship funds that go directly to him at the University of Idaho Natural Resource College of Natural Resource. That's our group shot. We're missing about 45 students, just timing of when they come screeching in and the contest starts. So it's a large group. It's a course. If they are from 5th to 5th through 6th grade, they do 5 stations that they go through and they're tested on. And especially our teams here, it'll show up in a sec. The team up on the left, it's from Selly Valley Cardinal School here locally. They come to play, they are there to win. So it's a pretty hands-on event. Our senior categories are also ones where they are tested on 8 different stations. We put some of our IDL partners through the test on that as well. It is not a walk in the park. There is some active work that's done. We are coming to you this afternoon right after our first day of the Water Festival. So the Ponderay Water Festival is today and tomorrow. So today we had about 250 students out at Riley Creek. We also were able to invite the Superintendent of Public Education, Debbie Critchfield, joined us this morning to experience the program with us. So once again, it is a rotational outdoor education event. The students go through 5 stations. So they go through fisheries, the fur trapping area, watershed, water quality, as well as animal tracks. Animal tracks is a big hit. They get to make their own bandanas, and the adults stand on tables. So it's always a big hit with the kids.
Sarah, does West Bonner County participate?
They do. So half of them.
I mean Kim, I meant superintendent. I know the kids.
Oh.
Did Kim participate?
The kids do.
Kim, the superintendent?
I have not heard.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
I always try to give my plug and then I'll ask, because I want
Yep.
I'm in that district and I want our district to also participate with stuff, and so
Yeah.
it's on one of my goals list.
So we definitely have the kids. The kids definitely are a part of it and
Yeah.
invited to it. They also attended. Priest River attended. They had a really strong group this year for the forestry contest, and a much larger group than normal. So that was really nice to see. So we are hoping to see kind of expansion on both of those. Water Festival, we're pretty tapped out once we hit that 450 kid mark. Just navigating them all through it and in a timely fashion, getting everybody back in one piece.
It's public and private schools.
So each year, our district supplies between 70 and 120,000 native conifer seedlings to local landowners. They can be just someone who has a small acreage and they just need 10, 15 trees. We have a really strong board. It's called the Panhandle Seedling Board. It's a group between Boundary, Bonner, Kootenai, Shoshone, and Benawa. They're foresters. Collectively, they have about 200 years of experience, and they come together and make sure that the seed source that we have is very specific to our zone, latitude, longitude, all of that. So each year we're kind of fine tuning that. They sell for about $1.10 a piece, and what that does is it helps us to cover the cost to be able to purchase more seed that's specific to our area. Because it is zone, latitude, all the things specific, the trees regenerate at a faster, healthier pace. So we do that each April, usually the first week in April. You'll see us out at DeLynn Farms, and we interact with, on average, we have about 150 local customers who come out to pick up trees from a bundle of 15 up to 15,000. keeps us on our toes. And you guys, when you're out and about at any of the community events, will see us there. We are continuously making a lot of effort to have that community engagement because the whole role of us is a volunteer-led conservation effort. And so for them to know about that opportunity, we have to be out there. So we are out at the fair every year, as well as Monterey Days. On average, we do between 10 and 12 public outreach events where we're providing information. So the packets that you have in front of you are things that we partner with. The Natural Resource Guide booklet is kind of a quick down and dirty for those who live on a waterway or interested in water quality. So really we're providing tools, allowing people to choose the information and the resource that we have. Our boat stations, so clean, drain, and dry, you're gonna continue to hear more about it. Obviously, there's been a lot of legislation with the detection that took place at the Snake River the last 2 years. Really want the slide to catch up because this next series of demographics are really important to you. So Bonner County can really, the history of the commissioners is something you should be proud of. We're the only county in Idaho that have continuously had boat stations since 2008. It has consecutively always been managed by the district since that time frame to protect our waterways. And so we have managed those boat stations that period of time. We currently, in the northern region, actually have 7 now, or 8, I'm sorry. We just had our 8th one up in Boundary added last summer. So we have the 3 in our community, and then there's 4 that are in Coeur d'Alene. The secondary graphic, which is bold, is the one that's really kind of an important one to pay attention to. So the top, so the ones that are, the only one that is not represented in ours is Malad. So out of the top 6, 5 of them are either us or Kootenai. Malad is open 10 months out of the year and continuously has been for the last, this is a snapshot of about 6 years. For us, we started opening a little earlier in April now, especially for our Clark Fork Station, with it being the deepest launch. It is also one of our higher risk locations because you have the east coming in. And so we had consistently been about 30 to 90 days behind those stations, and we're still putting up much higher numbers. So my Samuels and my Albany Falls stations have been open for 2 weeks, and they've averaged 300 boats a week each. So it's a busy time, and we haven't even really kicked off. Why it's important to us. So the blue dots on here represent notified areas that are known to be infested with quagga mussels. The yellow on the other side, I wish you could see the image bigger. I will send you a copy. So all along that side on the yellow, on the left, right, is little dots that correspond over here. All these spots here correspond with someone who was coming in to Clark Fork from those zip codes, bringing their boat with us. So these are infested bodies of water, and they are all centered in our area. Again, when we go to the next one, you'll see that of the most popular lakes, we hold the majority of them. So when those boats are coming in, they're headed to us. So 36% of all Idaho-bound boaters are coming into our county for last year. These are just last year's demographics. I'm not sure how familiar you are with quagga mussels or the impacts that they could have on us. So quagga mussel, it is a biofilter essentially, and it can live 30 days out of the water. It can withstand freezing temperatures. It came over originally on the ships that would come into the Great Lakes. When they would offload their village water, these quagga mussels would offload with the water that was held in those villages, and then they can replicate 1 million. One breeding pair can replicate up to 1 million in a breeding season. There's not an option for us to, we don't have any natural predators for them. They come from in the Ukraine area. There's not a natural predator. They can withstand super cold water. They can stay out of the water for 30 days and still survive. really the only option is to kind of superheat them and wash them off the boat. So that's why our boat stations have the hot sea machines, so it's 140 degrees. Quick power wash will dislodge them. They go through and they wipe out our bottom tier. That's what they do, is they're gonna go through and they'll wipe out your bottom tier of any of your ecosystem and your food systems in the lakes. So it just builds up from there once you wipe those out. They also build on top of each other. So if you look at any of the images of the lakes from the Great Lakes, they just are piled on top of each other. They're razor sharp. It's not quite as impactful irrigation-wise to us up here, but in the south, hugely impactful. What it would be hugely impactful for us is the mitigation costs are estimated about 1.5 billion annually, because there's not a get rid of them all the way. So for the state of Idaho, 1.5 billion is about where they estimate it would cost us. That would really translate to us as Bonner County residents in our electric bills, because so much of our power comes through hydropower. The mitigation tied to that is going to get sent back to us. So they're a huge issue. The whole AIS program is run through Idaho State Department of Ag. We administer it for them. We're working and advocating really hard that a proactive approach of being able to have more information. There was quite a few new laws, so the pull the plug law. You can't drive on any Idaho roads with your plug in your boat. Everything must be clean, drained, and dry. Your motor has to be dropped. There's a whole series of new changes this year. So we're really pushing to be able to get more information from ISDA to provide to boaters, but it's really critical. One of the areas that we're kind of concern for us is historically, the Sheriff's Department has provided support they have a secondary MOU. It's done on an overtime basis. Boaters know if the sheriff's not there, they just blow on by. So last summer, my guys were watching 30 to 45 boats a day just blow past our stations. And really at the end of the day, it'll catch up with us. So it has been detected in the Snake. They treated it twice. I can send you out the whole treatment plan ISDA has done with our follow-up email, but they don't realistically have a treatment plan for our waterway.
Can I ask you to email the board your metric of how many boats you're saying pass by? Because there's an argument for addressing something before it becomes a bill that reaches that high. And that's the first time I heard that comment made.
Yeah, so I can definitely send you the information. Our colloquial information is just our guys tallying as they set the boats.
It's, that's how it works, but it has to be something the board has to at least bring awareness to, and when we're thinking of things, we have to address what options are with the sheriff and the Marine deputy especially as we're coming up on budgets.
Yeah.
It's where we need to focus things.
It's critically important.
But it's funded through grants, right?
Yeah, so they are, there's an MOU extended to them from
Yeah.
ISDA to pay that overtime cost. That I'm aware the MOU is out, we just haven't received it back. Where it really impacts us is, we have one who is sat at Clark Fork. There is a whole website, and I'll send that in follow-up as well, where you guys can actually track the stations that are how many we're inspecting on a daily basis. It's updated daily. It also has a tally up there. This is how many blew past our station and were turned around for those stations that have state patrol or sheriff support. There's actually a tally for that as well of today we had this many turned around, and it tracks it throughout the season. So yeah, it's impactful. How do I say that?
Well, it helps us educate when we're doing our Tuesday meetings of what's happening so that people can also be mindful of not doing that and why not to do things like that. Like a public service announcement type of opportunity.
Yeah.
We could potentially not miss, especially as we come by boating season.
Yeah, we'd love to provide that information because we just want to make people aware. So just some information about some of the community grants we do. So because we are a state local entity, a governmental entity, we do have the ability to apply for a lot of grants. So that is an aspect that we've done. Our most recent grant that you may have heard about was the Ponderay Specialty Foods Incubator Kitchen. So if you haven't heard about it, I would definitely encourage you to look up POSFI. It's a really cool program. It is open to small food producers. They are able to go in and rent it for a small hourly fee. So those producers who are creating a food product and want to get it to a market, but don't have the overhead to do all of those additional materials and the commercial equipment, can come in and rent this space. So we were able to secure a USDA Rural Business Development grant last year, or last fall. So we received $25,000 to go in and upgrade and replace kitchen equipment in there. So we started out, there was about 4 users. We're now up to about 7 to 8 users with more interest. And so we also promote that for them, because the goal is that these small producers, you're bringing jobs into our community. You're giving freedom to people, and you're giving them a way to take their produce, their food business from an idea and get it out into the market. So this is really a goal to continue to foster that small business growth. And eventually the goal would be to long-term have a secondary launching point for those that have kind of outgrown the space but don't have enough overhead yet to launch on their own. So this is another one. This is...
Could I pause you for just a second?
Absolutely.
Did you say that helps fund this or your organization?
No.
Or it's just...
Nope, we wrote
I
a
missed
grant. We write the grant that helped to fund them to redo that. So I will explain. Our funding's a little funny, so I will explain it to you, I promise. But I'll give you an idea of what all we do and then how we get funded, or if we do. So this is a secondary grant. So this is an Ag BMP grant. So this is also done through DEQ. Stream bank restoration work is a big part of what we do in that volunteer-led conservation. So a producer had cattle that were running. It's a little hard to see here, but this whole stream bank had been damaged. We were sloughing pretty extensively along the stream in the top right. So through the help of a 319 grant, we were able to cover the cost for this producer to go in. We created the hard crossing, which is what you see in the bottom 2 right pictures. So there's a layer of rock and materials that go down there. And then the bridge that you see here has a drop bridge, basically, a drop, and that prevents the cattle from walking up the stream and on the stream bank. But then we fenced out the stream and the wetlands, so the cattle could still get in, get access to drinking water, but it protected those stream banks. We also went through in areas that it just was not going to be feasible on the pack there for us to put in fence and it stick. So we went in and put in willow fencing, so creating those natural barriers, and fencing is something else that we do. So Ag BMPs are a grant that we definitely encourage people to reach out to us about. It's underutilized in our state, so we're constantly looking for producers who need help with that, so we can bring those funds to them. WACPA, so this is pretty specific. It's done under the governor's budget usually. It's the Water Quality for Agricultural Program, and we were able to utilize it. This is again an area on the pack where the whole bank was continuously sloughing in. So we went in, we were able to rock the stream bank as well as lay it back a little bit on its edge. And we planted about 500 willows in there. So the willows are great because what they do is they create not only stability in that stream bank, but as they continue to grow out and get their leaves, they create shade in those important banks and keep it cool for our areas. That kind of goes hand in hand. We do partner with Kootenai Ponderay Sewer District to use their F-use water to own a willow nursery. So it's a win-win. We have willows to do our nursery programs, and it helps to recycle that water back into the system for them. The current grant that one of the current grants we're working on is through NACD, which is the National Association of Conservation Districts. It's a community agricultural grant. And this one is really focused on our communities and providing food and community around those elementary school gardens, and getting food into the hands of those who need it there locally. and creating conversations about the impacts that healthy food has for them. So the last big project we're going to talk about today is one that you may or may not know, but you're a partner with us on it. So the Upper Pack River Bank Stabilization Project, it was a 319 grant that we partnered with County Road and Bridge on. It was ranked as first priority in the state. We do anticipate our funding letter in June. It is on a bull trout river, so we have a very narrow work window. One area that we might ask for support from you is on the no-rise permitting that is required through the county. There can be costs associated with that. So we may ask if we can partner with you about that piece of it. So the main issue, I'm not sure how familiar everybody here in the room is, if you go out where Buck and Edna's used to be, just past the bridge, there is this lovely gabion wall that when we talk to everybody seems to have magically appeared out of thin air. Nobody claims to have built it or know how it got there. So right here on the right-hand side, where my mouse is a large scour. These pictures are from August of last year. The gabion wall itself, as you'll see in the next one, are completely failing, and there's a large scour that's going there. We lost in the summertime, so a significant road edge. So when we first started taking pictures last July, we had over 3 feet of road bank. There is less than 1.5 feet now. Because as it continues to undercut from the bottom, the road continues to slough off. Jason just had a crew out there because after one of the last big rain-offs, you could see the base of your asphalt in the one runoff area. So when it catches up, there you go. So in these orange arrows that are there, that's the base of your gabion wall that's failing. It's completely falling apart. There's not actually anything holding it together. And so once your gabion wall base fails, your wall fails, and with it will come that hillside. So on the next slide, the scour area, it's not just that we've scoured it, but the entire front access of that gabion wall is completely exposed. So if we are to get any kind of a major storm event in the next 60 days, there was a lot of tree loss up there when we had that event last fall, the big windstorm. So if any of the tree roots come through and hit the back of that gabion wall, you're very likely for it to come out. So we've been doing a lot of crossing our fingers and toes all winter and hoping it held until all of our permits came through. The last of our permits that we're waiting on is the no-rise permit, and then we'll be ready to begin the work in July of this year.
We're literally gonna redirect the river.
We are, yeah, so we do have to, because of the way that it is a bull trout habitat, as well as the way that the river goes, we will have to redirect the water to the other side, stop water from accessing it, and come down through the side and build this in. So along the front here, there will be new riprap placed in a more effective manner, as well as to address the scour hole. In the center of the river, some landowners thought they were being really helpful, and they went out in low season and placed some rocks. Unfortunately, it directed it right at the bank instead of the other way, so that will be dissipated.
This is the only road in and out of this region also.
Yeah, there are 100 parcels north of here that if it blows out, we won't have any access for them. The undercutting is pretty significant as we go through these slides. Sorry, it's almost catching up with me. So even though there are roots there, there's nothing for them to hold on to. And this was actually last summer. It's worse now. So I'm happy to send you the images as well. And if any of you would like, we are meeting tomorrow with both the contractor and our state engineer at the site at 11 to go back through and make sure we have all of our ducks in a row. So I'm not sure if any of you'd like or have availability, but we're happy to meet you there tomorrow at 11. So just a kind of a visual, like I said, that's from last year. When we do go back in, there will be a couple different features that really kind of set this apart. As we were talking about, we've had significant loss of just, the undercutting has now sloped the sides. But the pieces that are going to be important, sorry, it's coming up here. So on the last image that will pop up, we do have a little bit of just kind of a blanket idea to give you a point of view. There will be a redirection. So the two on the left is the barbs. So they won't sit significantly high above the low water line, but what they do is they direct the force back to the other side, which is not occupied, and it kind of forces the whole water system that way. Those little areas that are built into it in here and here will also provide great spawning habitat. There's additional spawning habitat that's built into the program or the plan as well throughout. And then there will be rock placed in the scour edge, and it'll be extensively willowed as well. Willows just help to hold everything in. They also can do, in those heavier years, when the water's right at that line, they provide a roughness to the water that helps to slow the speed down and break up the velocity going on in there. So now all the other projects that we do, just a few of them. So the funding part, this is how we are funded. So we are under state legislature as a local government entity. We are guaranteed a whopping $14,500 a year to do all of our programs. That includes the Water Festival, Forestry Contest, General Grant Administration. Outside of that, if we don't write grants and do projects, we do not get funded. So on average right now, we are bringing back almost $500,000 in payroll dollars to our community through the grants and projects that we do, which is significant. The piece where you guys really come in is county support. So being able to receive funding from you as county commissioners, we can then take those funds back to the state of Idaho and say, our county supports the programs and the projects that we do. So in the state legislative, we are allowed up to a 2-to-1 match. So last year, the funding that we received from you was $18,000. That meant that we received an additional $29,296 back from the state above and beyond our 14.5. That was the difference in us being able to bring on a second full-time person or not. And without having a second person, we can't take on any more projects. Because even with 2 people, the amount of time that is involved in not only our programs, but in grant writing, on average, we are doing, there's about 7 different programs that we utilize just for our grant reporting. There's an additional 4 to 5 that we do for our grant fund requests. So they're very time consuming and labor intensive. So our request is that the county would support us at $20,000 for the fiscal year of '26.
What was your, what did you say, 20?
This would allow us to continue to write grants, and it allows us to take those funds back to the state. Those dollars are going to go out. So if our county isn't able to offer support, another county can go in and say, we received $50,000 and their match portion goes out. So by doing this, it allows us to kind of even that out and bring those funds, those state funds up here where they can be utilized by us to get projects on the ground.
Can I ask you to do something, maybe email, is to go a little bit of 18, 20, 22, 24, 25, and then show what the state match would be, because there's a part of what we do on your program is we help you get more from the state by what our contribution is so that we can see kind of what that middle ground is. Because your jump, I actually expected it to be more than $2,000 from last year on this one.
We tried for 21, but you guys, remember?
I know,
think there
that's
was
why I
some
expected
confusion.
it, that's why I expected it to be what it was the last year. And not because I want to spend more money, but yours is different in that what we do more gives you access to more. And I expected us to at least be what we were confused on last time that we didn't do because you guys presented the need for that. Or
We're
is that
happy
a-
to do that.
I mean, because I think this would, I'd like to see the difference, because I thought you, that's why I said, what did you say? Because I thought you asked for 22 last time.
21.
And so you're going down?
Well, we've been held at 18 for the last 3 years.
Right.
So that's, we want to realize that things are adjusting, but yes.
No, your
realistically-
request is, I see what you're doing. We gave the 18 last year, but you asked for 21 and we didn't do that.
Right.
And now you're asking for 20.
We took that as maybe 21 is too much, so we're trying to adjust according to what the payment has been. We would like to see it up higher to like around a 22, but if that's not going to be funded, we kind of get ourselves in this weird spot where we're trying to do our budget and then it doesn't come in, because in the past, we've kind of felt like it was coming and then didn't.
That's why I want to see the county and state comparison of what you would get from the state, because in this last cycle, we've seen increase in stuff happening over our waterways. And so I think that there's justification for the county looking at, we haven't made any adjustments in the last few times, and there was confusion last time. And
I'm happy to do that. I won't know their final drop dead number. I can take, because some years where they match us at 1.4,
Yeah.
1.6. I
so
can
it
do it
should
based
be
off
like
of last year.
32 at 20, and it's,
But I will definitely send that.
I'd say to be conservative, whatever you think the lowest amount of match they would provide as a
Yeah.
projection, just so that we're
Yeah.
not overestimating the potential total value. And then going back to the Pack River Road Stream Bank project that you went over the details with us on,
Yeah.
which I appreciate. How much grant funds were brought in to help support that project?
Yeah, so the project overall is going to be right about $90,000. Part of that is in-kind work. So the county Road and Bridge has committed $15,000 to that project. We have $5,000 in cash from the landowner. The secondary landowner is an in-kind, where we're using materials off of her property and access from her property. And then the actual grant dollars is right about $54,000. And the rest will be our in-kind of managing it and oversight of it.
Is that state grant?
It is, yeah. It's essentially, it comes from EPA originally. It's clean water dollars from federal that come to the state and then are dispersed. Questions or concerns I can?
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Out of the blue here. So going back to your 3 inspection stations that you have, how many times have you guys actually caught somebody that had the invasive mussels in their boat?
So here locally, we've had 3 detections. They haven't been viable in ours, but in Malad and in some of our other southern counties, even in Kootenai County, on a regular basis. Let me see if I can pull up the actual site, because it does show you where they were, as well as, sorry, give me 1 second. So this is the, let me stop sharing and switch to the other one.
One of the things, Ron, I think that a lot more of it is education and deterrent by being there. So people are less likely to come to your area because they know they're gonna get checked. So they're more aware and looking into the rules. I'm not a guy that likes to just throw rules out there, but this one, I'm 100% behind, because we've had some folks that have tried to go around stations. One of them was a big one.
I can see a lot of different scenarios. I can see the local guy that never takes his boat anyplace else but right here, right? And he's like, why am I getting inspected all the time? I'm gonna go around it.
And one of the benefits of us having locals doing that inspection, the majority, by far, I'd say at least 80% of my inspectors are retirees in our community, who are there because they feel passionately about it. They're out fishing on their days off. So most of our people who are long-term local residents, within about 3 weeks, they know the inspectors know them. This year is a little different because of the new laws in place. But being able to just provide that information to them up front of this is what we need from you. And once they get in the habit of doing that, it makes it a lot faster for them because the guys just go, they know what we're checking, we're checking. So I would say as soon as we educate those people, because we all live here for a reason. We all live here because of what's around us in the community that it offers to us. A lot of our locals are really willing to do it once they understand why we're doing the steps and what we're protecting. So it really is that proactive educational piece. We're having a little pushback with ISDA about getting the proactive educational materials we want, and that's a place where that additional funding from the county would factor in of us being able to provide a rack card similar to what you have. That's here's what we need from you on the inspection. Here's what the impacts are. Here's why we're doing it. Because everyone that we've talked to, once we're able to clearly outline here's what's at risk, are really willing to do it. We don't want a situation, so in Idaho Falls at Centennial Park, it's a mandatory decon. You pull out of that water or put into that water, you are met at the boat launch. Your boat is decontaminated. You can't pull out without it. We don't want that to take place in ours, so that ahead of time conversation, education, and investment from our community who do want to take care of their waterways.
Is that because it's infected down there?
That's where they found it.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around the expense, because I seen this ever since it started. I'm like, oh my gosh. And you drive by and there are guys just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, wow, how much is that costing us, right, the taxpayer? And they're sitting there doing nothing. We have 3 stations in our county. And you're not open 24 hours a day, so you're not catching everyone coming through. And so the possibility of still being infected locally, there's still a percentage of a chance of being infected locally. So I'm looking at the costs and the rewards and the benefits kind of thing going,
I think it's a
user, Ron.
and you're moving from, it's reduction of a risk before you get to an infestation mode. And I think that's a
Once you're
huge,
infested.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not a
So I moved here from the Great Lakes and the Finger Lakes region of
Okay.
upstate New York. You literally cannot walk into the lake without wearing protective footwear or you will slice your feet open. You cannot move a vessel anywhere without, if the very few uninfected waters left, without potential contamination. So I've lived this nightmare and I do not want it to happen here. So
Let me clarify one thing. I believe that it's a user fee. It's a user-based fee.
So
that correct?
we
Or a
have,
certain
so there's
amount?
funds that are set out by the state, but then they are also matched by the Pacific States Marinery. So the Columbia River Basin is the only watershed in the US that has not got an infestation. So there is a very heavy focus by Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana to keep it that way. So there are federal dollars that come into the program to offset those costs. At almost 50% of the costs are through those type of grants to prevent it being solely on the state costs. But I do understand that, like, you drive by and they're not occupied. But the other component of that is, so Clark Fork is pretty quiet. We have not hit good weather yet, and we've already had over 600 boats through there in the last 3.5 weeks.
I think to Mayor Connolly's point, though, it's the point of it is not just the detection of the item, it's actually the education of the community and getting awareness for our community to support protecting our waterways. And that's not necessarily seen because, I mean, in as much as we can say we might see somebody just sitting there, we actually recognize that they are there because we know where those boat stations are. And there is a level of compliance through that known education tool that says pull over, boat check area, kayaks included or whatever. I think that that's part of it, but I also think we're doing this to prevent the infestation that you can't go back from. And you can't unring that bell once it gets here.
I guess part of my question is, but can we really stop it? Can we really prevent that from happening? I gotta say no.
So we've held it off so far.
I don't
It's
necessarily
yeah.
disagree, but
Yeah.
I want to say, this isn't something
I
that I
know.
want to just
I know.
walk away from, not
You're pushing
trying
it
our
off to the
hardest.
end.
You know, I want to
You're-
say that if it does happen,
It's a
we
risk
did everything
reduction.
we could.
It is an element of risk reduction, not risk elimination. And then you look at your percentage of how are you reducing the risk. And the frequency by which we're checking boats reduces the risk that it will occur in the next 10, 20 years. And that's sometimes the most you can do is reduce the risk. But if you don't do it, you will increase the risk and guarantee yourself the problem that you see in other waterways. And so instead of looking to, I need to find a mussel on so many boats to justify it, it's that because I'm not finding something, it is working, even if it's just to reduce the risk. Not everything is going to eliminate risk.
We can also isolate, when unfortunately
Well,
an
we know
infestation
where the common
starts.
areas are,
Yeah.
Lake Mead, Lake Powell, the Great Lakes. And there's stations all on I-15, come out of Utah, Highway 2, and I-90 has them. So everything moving this way is multiple check stations, working at the end of the line of last resort. It's not foolproof. I mean, if you really want to get around it, you probably find it come through at night. Down on Priest River, you take old Priest River Road. If you come up 41 and Dodge, if you're going
Yeah.
up to Priest Lake.
That's
or
a
you-
lot of work to
So
avoid
we're
just
probably
spraying the
not
boat
gonna
off.
tell everybody how to avoid that, especially since.
And people's gonna do it. They're
We're not allowed to edit the video, but,
It's not,
yeah.
But there is now, well, and that's the thing with the sheriff's office is yes, it was a state law, but it wasn't being as enforced. Now, the legislature has changed some of you bypassed it actively by choice, now there is a consequence. The other component kind of to the user fee is, on average, we sell between 70 and 100,000 of the AIS stickers. A large majority of those are out-of-state boaters. There are boaters who are using our waterways, and those funds go back into the AIS program to help fund that program. Local boaters who are registered here, you pay that as part of your registration. But a huge part of those stickers come from our county where the water's being used and go back.
When you see a boat that came here that gets that AIS sticker and their boat is out of state, do we try to educate them on registering their boat? Because I hate that we use that word about registering boats, because I would never think that that wasn't attached to where I lived versus where I put my boat. And Idaho wants it registered here so that funding is attached to it. Do we try to re-educate so that we increase funding?
So the Lakes Commission drafted a new bifold.
I mean, on your side, because I
Yeah.
know I work with Molly on that
So,
part.
so Molly drafted that, and those are at our stations to hand out to boaters. So we are doing a ton of public education about that of, hey, especially, I would say probably most at our Albany location, about 85% of our boaters are coming from Washington to go to Priest. And so those go like hotcake all year long, and we explain how identifying where at your boating impacts where those dollars are associated with and things like that. So yes, we are putting it in their hands.
The state is never going to change that.
Yes, we administer funds. We administer the funds for the Lakes Commission.
For Lakes Commission, and then she sits on the waterways for the county. So I knew about that, that part, I just don't, that's a weird thing to do instead of requiring a boating sticker that when you drop it, I mean, it's just a weird way to say register your boat in a place you don't live.
Right.
But, yeah.
So I had a question about the temperature of the lakes, but it's interesting to hear that Lake Powell and Lake Mead are infested. So it's not just a cold water
No.
issue,
Yeah.
it's
These
just
things
a
are
water
super
issue.
versatile. Yeah.
Yeah, warm water, cold water.
They're a bivalve muscle, so we have muscles here, but they, our muscles are easy-ish to knock off. They essentially create a concrete, and you can't, I mean, it takes a heavy-duty pressure washer to remove them, to get them off. They did.
Crazy.
So the location of where the infestation was in the snake, if there was a place for it to happen, was kind of the ideal spot. It was between a natural waterfall and a dam. And so they were able to treat it. They used chelated copper in there. The downside of that is you wipe out your fishery. They have mock scenarios, but they don't have a clear picture. In that area, they could essentially slow or stop the water. We don't have that. And there is a certain amount of time that any type of treatment is going to have to sit on your waterways. It's why we have such an issue with our weeds, is that any of the treatments that we would typically do have to sit on those weeds for a certain period of time, and our water is too dynamic, and it makes it as an ineffective process.
When you see a chunk of it broken up, that's colonized, like on a shoreline, and it gets broken out, literally, it's like somebody mortared pebbles together, the way they've grown together.
And they just stack up on each other.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you'll see it in irrigation pipes within,
we
we don't anymore, and they've stopped producing it, but we had a PVC pipe, and you could see the difference. So you saw the same pipe was cut into 4 pieces. So the initial pipe, once it was in for about 3 months, 6 months, and at 18 months. So at 3 months, you could see it had almost like a slimy filament on it, because the veligers are microscopic. It's not something we can just walk out and be like, oh, there's a snail or a mussel. They're microscopic. And so it essentially creates a slime. And then you start to see them cover the outside, and by the 18-month, you can't see through the PVC pipe, and it's completely encased. So it is not a slow process, and like I said, they only found 1 adult in the snake last year in 23, and yet the veligers had spread 6 months that they were able to detect them. And they know that they were able to remove that adult one, but there obviously were 2 of them to be able to produce. But
Thinking about asking, but
Some species are different than others.
Different class.
that is, so even with the treatment they did, they knew it wasn't gonna be a one and done. So they did retreat. We won't know until around
Couple
August of
years.
September of next year if they were fully effective this time, because they do shut down at a certain temperature. They close up and they won't take in the chemical, basically. And they won't also continue to reproduce. So the water temperature has to be at a certain temperature for them to reproduce, but it's not super high. So,
Hopefully within the future, there'll be some new technology out there. And hopefully we can hold them off until that new technology comes out.
Dynamite?
Those notes.
Just go to extremes.
I want to
and
sign up for that
we try to keep
program.
it here. I do just want to give you a quick snapshot. So this is
Is
the
she on
watercraft.
your removal of infestation crew?
No. We try to keep the dynamite away from her. This will change day to day. So I'm happy to send you the link to this. It is really informative. So the high-risk watercraft, those are telling us that they came from a known water body. The ones on the right tell us what lake, which of the inspection stations they went through. We will also get information when they detect them. I know that they've already had 4 detections this year in Idaho on boats coming in. They were in our Malad, and we've had one at Cedars. So it is not, it's not some far off thing. Like, we are actively seeing them. You can also see how many of them up here at the top, this part where we said that you could see where they're returned. Those aren't in our county. Other counties do have the law enforcement support right now. But then hot wash. So right now, if you came from a water body, your boat wasn't dry, it hasn't been out of the water for 30 days, you're getting a hot wash to protect our waterways. It's a really nice way to shine up your boat real quick. Free service we offer to everybody. But Most of the stations have been open, most stations have been open for 2 weeks or less. There are a select few that have been open since the beginning of March. Not a lot, I think there's 3 in the whole state. But we've already done over 12,000 inspections in that timeframe. So,
She said your time is up. It's
perfect,
3
I'm good.
Just deleted
Interesting.
you.
So every boat that goes through your checkpoint then that has been in the water less than 30 days gets a hot wash.
Nope. So
No.
if you are from a known risk water body, you come to my station and you have water in your boat or in your village tanks or any of that, yes, by state law, I am required to hot wash you. If you are a local and your boat is clean, you don't have water in it, you have pulled your plug, I'm gonna say thank you for doing your part and send you on your way. So really that educational piece is really our goal of, here's what we need from you. Make sure that your plug gets pulled when you come out of the water. It is now illegal to transport a boat with their plug in the state of Idaho, anywhere. And drying it. So having them dry the boat off, as long as your boat's clean and dry, we're good. It also is, we're not just looking for the fog and mussels, we're also looking at weeds. It also helps us, we coordinate with ISDA as well as Chase and say, hey, we've got a new weed that's coming out of this lake. We're consistently seeing trailers. We had a couple years where we were having whole salads come in on our trailer boats, our boat trailers. So, hey, this launch is continuously
mussels,
being an
yes.
issue. So it helps us to also address that piece of it as well.
Okay.
That's how milfoil and everything else gets spread too.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for life.
Before we end our meeting, do the board members want to say something? You've got a microphone.
Does it work here? Okay. Other than the fact, as a district, we represent Bonner County. Every aspect, education, water, our landowners, our timber, the ag portion of it, we're there to help. We're an agency that works with the people that are here, and we don't turn away anybody. They want help, we're willing to give it to them. And I've been on the board a long time, like a lot of.
I'm going to pause you because I think most of us can hear this.
Yeah, what is that?
What is that?
Phone's ringing.
Chris, your phone is ringing.
The dynamite.
This message will self-destruct.
I was like,
Yeah, so I think we got a good program here, we just want to keep it going.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get good volunteers, we've had some changes over the year to find people that want to run for this and commit their time for it, it's hard to do. I've been on there nearly 40 years, so I've seen a lot of changes.
And these programs are.
I didn't say a word.
and
You-
I'm the youngest member of the board.
It's not a freebie thing.
No.
We're missing Harry. Harry is our oldest member at 94.
I did not mention a thing.
I'm Cyberbuck.
You're the one who said you could even hear her phone ringing, so you aged yourself. Anybody else? I want to look at what we didn't finish last season, because when you can extract a little bit more from the state, that's what I want to do, a comparison as we look at our budget, because things have increased and our boat traffic has actually increased in the county, which means we have to do more protection of it. And this is one of those budget items where our contribution actually, it increases more of availability in our district than other types of spends, which could result arguably in a reduction in what we're spending overall. So that's why I want to see the differences of what you had asked for last time. I can respect that you guys said, well, they said no last time to back it down some, but I think that with what we've seen in watercraft traffic, that we have to look for what you assessed when you first brought that need forward, because it got knocked down for a misunderstanding when we did it last time. So,
We appreciate that, and I'll add that to you by the end of the week. There you go.
all right, anybody
Yeah, that'd be
else?
great.
Our youngest member, anything? All right,